Now, there's about 45 or 50,000 people that live here in Los Banos, and like your average Central California town, its main industry is agriculture. As a matter of fact, the largest tomato grower, I believe, in the world, Morningstar Farms, is based here in Los Banos. I know that because I put in an application to drive a truck for them a few years back. Now, Los Banos is a lot smaller than your bigger cities that are here in California: Stockton, Sacramento, Los Angeles, San Diego, Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose, so forth and so on. But like those cities that I just mentioned, Los Banos does have a gang problem, and somewhat of a healthy gang problem, as odd as that might sound. Now, as I delve in further into the murky underworld of gangs, motorcycle clubs, the mafia, so forth and so on, we're going to be coming across stories such as the one that I'm about to tell you right now. You can read as many articles online as you can about when such and such motorcycle club started, or when motorcycle gangs started becoming a problem to local law enforcement here and around the Central California area. But by the 60s, it was well known that if you were a part of an outlaw 1% motorcycle club, chances are pretty good that you were into at least some form of organized crime, as low as that can be, whether you would speed, whether you dealt a little bit of grass. That's what they used to call marijuana back in those days. They called it grass, like the grass you're looking at right now, but it was the kind that you smoke. Oftentimes, motorcycle clubs would be coming into these smaller towns, and even towns smaller than this, 5,000 people, and they'd have motorcycle races, rallies, so forth and so on, and they, would bring trouble to the region. Not always. Sometimes they bring money to spend and to contribute to a local economy. And sometimes they bring drugs. Just depends on who you are. And as the 60s turned into the 70s, motorcycle clubs, the different ones that ran in and around Central California, they started losing their foothold to organized gangs. You have literally hundreds and hundreds of Hispanic / Latino Mexican gangs all up and down California. And as these groups kind of interacted with each other, whether it be good or, like in this story, bad, turf was taken, turf was lost. And in the 60s, when motorcycle clubs, for the most part, were doing a lot of the manufacturing of drugs, selling it, delivering it, so forth and so on, you had organized gangs coming in and not necessarily stealing the show or whatever, but they would come in there with their muscle and get in on the drug trade. Now, you've had a few skirmishes with different motorcycle clubs and gangs here in California and all around the country, but from what I know, for the most part, there is some kind of an unwritten law that they pretty much avoid each other unless they get locked up in prison with each other. Then from then on, I'm not really sure. I guess it just depends on the individual. So we're gonna go to 2011, and August 7th, we're at this brown building right here. It used to be called Club Azul. Club Azul went out of business somewhere in the early 2011 or 12, somewhere around then. So on that night, going into the early morning hours, a couple of Mongols motorcycle club members were here drinking, having a good time. Brothers Angel Rodriguez, 30 years of age, and you had Ruben Sanchez, 34. Now, this bar is not, from what I've gathered, a motorcycle club bar. It was pretty much a predominant Mexican club. You have, I guess you would call them rancheros or whatever. They would pretty much come to this bar to have a good time. So not a whole lot of trouble that would happen in this place. However, on that night, around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, people are drinking, having a good time. Some are drinking a little bit too much. And the brothers, Angel and Ruben, they're drinking, having a good time. And on their back, I'm pretty sure they're wearing their jackets. They're wearing their colors. And you had 5 members of a street gang here based in Los Banos, flying under the Norteño flag. Whole nother story with the whole Norteño Sereno thing. Maybe I'll get into that in a later video. But you had 5 gang members who people over here called Norteños. They were at the bar too. Now, like I said earlier, gang members and motorcycle club members, it is what it is. Some do what they do. That's really all I can say about it, because each person is an individual. But it appears that words were exchanged. Maybe one of the Norteños thought that their jacket didn't look cool, or maybe your hair was parted wrong, or whatever. But 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, 5, 6, 7 beers, 3, 4, 5 shots of brown and clear liquor mixed together. And well, you know, when you're a guy and you're drunk, all of a sudden you get better looking than women. Women can't resist you, according to yourself. And for some unknown reason, when you get liquid courage in you, you think you can fight better than you can, right? You think you're taller than the actual 5'8" that you are. And some kind of verbal altercation took place between the 2 brothers from the Mongols motorcycle club and the 5 Norteños. Now, of those Norteños, 2 of them were twin brothers. You had Armando and Mando Lopez. They were 22 years of age at the time this incident occurred. Now, it's not clear exactly word for word what was said, but let's just say that they didn't compliment the other guys on their really cool motorcycle boots. So they start jawing with each other back and forth, and one challenges the other, hey, why don't you come outside and back and let's fight? Okay, well, you know, guys, we got to remember, this is, the 2000s now. This ain't 1960. You know, you can't trust anybody to be a gentleman and actually put up their fists and give you a fair one, and then that's it. We don't live in those days anymore. Best believe and best remember that. So they come outside right here, and instead of fighting, one of the brothers pulls out a gun and shoots both brothers right here, right in the back of what used to be Club Azul. So the shooting occurred right here somewhere in this alley, and both brothers would be shot multiple times right here, and they would both end up losing their lives. Now, as you can see, there is a patio area, so that would have been the summertime, so it would have been a warm night, and when the weather's a little bit warm, things get a little bit heated. As you can see right here, they still have the iron ornamental artwork of what used to be Club Azul. So after both brothers are shot and end up dying, the police are eventually called right here, 911, and they come here to Club Azul, and the cavalry comes out. So eventually, people start talking, and there is a camera system here in this club, but the camera system didn't really help investigators, because it was one of those cameras, those old cameras from back in the day, where it takes a picture every 5 seconds instead of just showing actual video. So eventually, investigators, after talking to several people in the area and studying the video, so forth and so on, they were able to ascertain that the 2 twin brothers were responsible for the men's murders. Like I said, Armando and Mando Lopez, 22 years of age. Eventually, they were caught in December of that year. They had fled to Las Cruces, New Mexico. And also with the Lopez brothers, it was 3 of their friends who were also affiliated with the Norteños organization. It was Jose Castillo, 26 years of age, Francisco Escoval, 21, and Isaac Barrera, 19. So eventually, all 5 are arrested and charged with the murder of the 2 brothers. Now, gang investigators, they don't believe that there was any kind of war between any kind of Norteños or Mongols motorcycle club members. This is not, or was not, any kind of a rivalry or a beef or whatever. This was just, from what it appears, to be guys drinking too much and jawing back and forth at each other. Now, eventually, after, because those guys, they weren't talking. And, you know, you had a lot of people who probably are not going to want to show up to court to testify against these guys. But eventually, what happened is they all eventually took deals and pled guilty. So the actual shooter, who was Mondo Lopez, I don't know if he said, you know what, I'm the one that pulled the trigger, so give me the time. My brother didn't do anything. I mean, he probably did. But like I said, also, you had that horrible video that didn't really tell prosecutors exactly what took place or how it happened. And you have a lot of people not talking. So he ended up pleading guilty to voluntary manslaughter, and he received 21 years in prison. He should be up for parole, eligible for parole, somewhere around 2029, somewhere around there, 2028, 2029. You had Mr. Barrera, Isaac Barrera. He ended up getting a few years in prison because I believe he had a previous strike, and he was, you know, known and associated with the Norteños gang. And then you have the other Lopez brother, Armando, and the two others, Jose Castillo and Francisco Escobar. They both actually, they stayed in jail through the duration of the case until they ended up taking deals, and then they all eventually pled to guilty to accessory after the fact of the murder and participating in a criminal street gang, and they were all given time served, except for the other guy who already had a strike, so he was given the prison time. But I believe they had let everybody out because it was pretty much time served by then. And two men lost their lives here at this bar, you know, drinking and guns, and unfortunately you can't anymore challenge somebody to a fight and expect that to happen, because you just can't trust anybody. Hotheads holding guns, and that's what happens. We're not even about 7/10 of a mile down from the bar where the two murders occurred. So, story that comes from this park is back in July of 2008. There was a motorcycle rally being held here in Los Banos, and it was leading up to an event that was taking place in Hollister. And of course, a lot of you guys know Hollister, that motorcycle rally at that time back in 1947 is kind of the start of the whole motorcycle club movement. And this is a weird story. So this park is pretty packed, right? And if you guys see some of those Victory Outreach Church guys, they'll be in the street on the speakers talking about the Bible or what have you. So in this park, you had some guys from the Victory Outreach program, and they're out here on their loudspeaker and preaching the good word, preaching the gospel and all of that. And I'm not sure if they were invited, but about 10 Mongols motorcycle club members come thundering through here, and they park at the park right here. And in a sense, I guess they were invited. They were invited to stop and have something to eat and something to drink. Kool-Aid, that is, the good kind of Kool-Aid. And so they parked at this park. The guy that had invited them over, they weren't here not even 5 minutes. That you see about 7 or 8 Hells Angels motorcycle club members come thundering down this street right here, and they see the Mongols and they say, "Arr!" And they pull into the park. And as soon as that guy seen that, he got the biggest knot in his stomach. He said, "Oh my God, here it's gonna go down." So the Angels pull into the park, and they come up to the Mongols, and they're not coming up there to invite them over to have a Sunday dinner with them, right? These guys are very bitter rivals. And I think they've been at it for maybe 30, 40 years. So they come into the park, and then they start jawing at the Mongols. They're like, "F you, la la la, yada yada yada." And then they start, talking crap to each other. And then they start fighting, and one of the Mongols pulls out a knife and stabs a Hells Angels prospect somewhere in the abdomen region. And then there's like a mini riot here. Everyone's fighting, and then then they start realizing what they're doing, and there's going to be cops all over this place because there's already a lot of cops. So the Angels, they ended up getting on their bikes as well as the Mongols. Everybody took off, And so by the time Los Banos police and the CHP and the sheriffs, oh, okay, there must have been about 100 cops right here. Everybody had left. And then eventually they went down to a known Hells Angels Club chapter president in Merced County, and that's where they seen the prospect. He had been stabbed somewhere in the abdomen. And one of the other guys at that house was arrested because he had a weapon on him. Apparently it's illegal to carry a metal baton with a whip at the end. I've never heard of this weapon, but I must buy one now. If he's carrying it, I want to carry one. And well, that's it. Warring motorcycle clubs, wars with other gang members in motorcycle clubs. In case you're new to my channel, my name is Lamont at Large. All the stories that I talk about are always at the location. Very rarely will you, if ever, hear me talk about a story that I'm not there. If I'm not there, the story is not going up on my channel. I will always be at the location in some sort of fashion or whatever. And we're gonna get into more of these stories. Leave a comment below, tell me what you think, and if there's a story you want me to cover, I don't care if it happened in the 40s, the 50s, the 1840s, the 50s, send me an email, lamontatlargestories, lamontatlargestories@gmail.com. And if I'm in the area, best believe I'll talk about it. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.